I spent most of my career as a filmmaker behind camera, with crew sizes up to 20 or 30 people. For this project, I wanted to do something a lot smaller, something that cost no money, I did over a weekend, and I starred in myself. This is a film that I didn't only just shoot all at once, I also wrote as I shot it. Our film set's just overcomplicated with too many people, and can you do something a lot more stripped back? And I'll cut to the chase. You should hire people if you can. So without further ado, this is my experiment in making a film, not only cinematically, but also narratively. So let's get into that process. Cool. I've always been intimidated by lighting. Mostly because if the lighting's bad, it doesn't matter what camera you shoot it on, if it's in or out of focus, it's just not gonna look that good. So what makes a light more cinematic? Is it making it darker or adding diffusion? I think it's that, but it's also just making it look kind of natural and work with the space. You see, some tutorials will tell you that you need to do 3-point lighting or mimic some famous cinematographer, but I think it's maybe a little bit easier than that. I think there's just a few simple rules to follow, and in this video we're going to be diving into that. It's also why I'm wearing a suit right now. This entire intro has just been lit with... This is the Amaran Ace 25, a 25-watt little pocket light, and that is what we're going to be shooting this entire video on. It's just me, one idea, one light in the bathroom, trying to see if I can construct something on this Sunday. I know my girlfriend's going to watch this and be like, this is what you do when I'm not home. So the color temperature is actually set to daylight. Here's the thing, the lighting looks really good naturally right now, but because the clouds are moving so much, you can't rely on it. This is gonna do really way more damage. Okay, so this is feeling pretty good. As I put the suit on, I realized that I'm like, this should be a funeral setting, which can create a bit of an environment. I think wardrobe, production design, and even cast can dictate a lot about what your film can be about, and working off of limitations or resources. So in this case, it was a suit. I'm like, either it's a wedding or a funeral, and a funeral just sets a cool tone. So this video is being shot on the 16-35. I love this lens. It's become my favorite lens of the year. Cinematography solo is very difficult to make it look good, but I know one of my techniques is frames within frames. So if you're able to narrow an audience's eyes, so I have this cool doorway in our house. I knew the other doorway had this neat wallpaper. And then with the way the natural light was coming through the windows, it just worked really well to create these frames. Excuse me. Something else to recognize, I took the Denis Villeneuve approach for this, which is always framing symmetrically. This is what a lot of filmmakers do, so that your eyes aren't bouncing around a lot. So it's like I'm in the center, then I'm in the center again, and then I even reframed this glass so it was more in the center of the frame, so your eye wasn't bouncing around too much. And I thought that was a good way to keep the audience in the same space. We're really just going super fast here. I've never made a movie, I think, this inefficiently. This feels cool. I think I got it. I'm always so self-conscious about my acting. It feels so weird. I want to just get like his POV and the glass. I think we freaking nailed that. That was so sick. Cool. I shot this scene from a number of different angles. I thought sort of punching in super close was a good way to do it, and sort of migrating the audience's eyes from wide, medium to an extreme close-up. Now we're super in his world by going into this close-up of the door. This whole setup has been with this big softbox here, which was lit by the little Amaran light. So I've just got this big softbox and then the Amaran behind it. So like I said at the beginning of this video, this entire film was shot with the Amaran Ace 25C. And the best thing about it is this custom menu. There's not many of these lights out there that have a nice menu like this one and easy buttons on the side to toggle you through those settings like HSI, RGB, and your color temperatures. There's also a lot of effects, but I think the cooler functions about this are its magnets. I think the future is magnets, and not only can you magnetize these different things onto the light, there's also this magnet on the back that I didn't use too much because I have a stand for it and use this easy to use little clicky thing. But if you were to have, maybe something metal, you could stick it on, and that's where these small pocket lights really come in handy. By the time I got into the bathroom, the lighting got a lot more fun because I could bounce it off a lot of the white in there. There was more textures, and I wasn't trying to shoot a big thing. I was just kind of more in a contained space. So it made this a lot easier. Amaran on the back, this thing here, and then my main camera shooting right here, getting a little shot from this angle of me coming through that angle. Me going to the mirror shot, I think I could have probably lit a little bit better. I originally had it bouncing off the mirror to go into me and it create a little more texture, but I don't think it was seen as well in this. So I think if I were to do it again, I would definitely want some more texture, maybe some stuff splashing on the back wall. And that's where working with a cinematographer is helpful. The 3 things I learned about lighting on this: 1 is small scale lighting can be amplified to large scale lighting and vice versa. So if you see these cinematographers with massive lights and it looks so epic and overwhelming, it's kind of a similar practice on a smaller scale. You're backlighting someone, or you're creating a fill light, you're adding some sort of key in, or you're just putting something in the background. The size and wattage all follow the same principles. And so for this, I was always actually just trying to backlight me because I knew my foreground would either bounce that light or it would just create more dimension. I think there's something kind of fun about just shooting this at your own rhythm and allowing yourself to learn. So 2 things. 1, I was either backlighting myself or I was always shooting from shadow side, which motivated me to do backlight. Shadow side is a good technique because you're always getting some more dimension. If you think about a photo, if you were to draw it, it feels 2-dimensional until you add shadow. Shadow is the 3D effect of an image. And so lighting goes the same way. If you backlight or light or shoot from the side of a shadow, you're always going to get the most dimension. Maybe a little harsh. Let's get some diffusion in, why not? Perfect. All the lighting should be motivated by whatever the natural source is in there. Once you start lighting from an unnatural spot, it starts to have an uncanny effect. So if sometimes you can lean into that, like later on, I make the light coming from the bathtub because he's going crazy, and I thought that could work, especially with the different colors. But a lot of the time, I'd always just get the light to come from where the normal light was coming from. It's also a good way not to fight against the sun. You're working with the sun, especially with small lights. Like, don't try and recreate the sun if you don't have the power to. Just lean into it. The magic of this shoot is really just to see if I can do it all as fast as possible. The POV in the sink shot, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do a shot from the POV of the sink. And then what I did was I went into Mid-Journey and just created this fake sort of tunnel and then masked it out. So I was in the tunnel itself. Then I did these bathroom shots. I think they looked a little silly. I mean, to be honest, if I were to do like this transformation scene again, I probably would have played with more wardrobe. And if I were to do this on a bigger scale, I would have had someone with cool makeup. This was just cool camera lighting, sound effects, and with like a couple neat practical things that I got to do. One of them was with this shadow effect where I just put a broom pole behind my shirt. And then that with the sound effect, I think really sells the fact that this guy's transforming. And changing the light to red, I really feel like with RGB lighting now, it's a really good way to diversify the palette of your movie. A lot of movies can look the same tone, that's totally fine, but I've even experimented with dramas like our feature film Sway. Even though it is a down and dirty drama, we decided to play with different lighting the same way a music video would or an A24 film would, because it just makes the film have different visuals and it tells a different story. Last shot for my on-screen epicness. This is just like a close-up of his eye. Usually having like close-ups help with cutaways and stuff, so. Like I said at the beginning of this, I had no real crafted story other than like a guy starts to go crazy. As soon as I put the suit on, I'm like, oh, it's a funeral. As soon as I went into the bathroom, I'm like, oh, he's going crazy in the bathroom. As soon as I got the RGB light, I was like, oh, maybe we can play with this as like a thing to motivate the story of this person going into a monster. At the end of the day, your movie should be crafted in pre-production or before pre-production. That's going to be the best result. I think my biggest learning lesson lesson was the more I was like, oh, I'll keep figuring it out, the burden I put on myself at the end of the process, being like, okay, this has got to come together. And the film doesn't feel fully fleshed out. It doesn't feel like a full movie, which I'm okay to admit because it's a short film and it was really to flex my muscles, not only acting on camera, but also being shirtless and looking awesome. There's nothing greater than showing someone your movie with a bag of popcorn, with your pop. Everyone's ready. Are you ready?
Well, you didn't give me the popcorn.
Okay.
Ollie and I are very excited.
This is the movie. Here we go.
Paul?
No, you gotta watch the freaking movie, guys. Yeah?
What's it about?
It's a short film.
Will I cry? Is there any romance in this?
No, but it is could be the Shawshank of our generation.
I don't know what that is. I don't think anyone really knows what that is.
Oh my God. Shawshank of our generation. Let's go. I can't believe you were with Paul when it happened. So you blacked out? You just died, or? Yeah, it's gotta be pretty traumatic. I mean, you were with Paul when he was murdered. Okay in there? No, 1 minute. So Jackie just watched this for the first time. What are your thoughts?
I think it's really good, and you're a big star. I also think I don't know what it's about.
The best feedback you get on a movie is someone's like, I didn't really get it, but you did a really good job.
I think there's something there for sure.
Okay, so the whole concept, thank you, is the fact that he's at a funeral. He was the one who caused the guy to die, and then he ends up killing everyone at the funeral afterwards. That's the voice at the beginning, like, oh, I didn't know you killed Paul, or Paul died in front of you, or whatever.
Yeah, but it looks like, because you're not interacting with the voice, and there's nobody talking to you who's giving the voice.
Okay, babe, I figured this out while I was writing it, or I was shooting it. Come on.
I think you just need a shot at the end of someone dead at the funeral. You just need one shot of a bloody girl dead on the floor.
I'm always wanting to get a shot of a bloody girl dead on the floor.
There you go.
So one of the things that made this film stand out a lot was the sound design. I realized that if you're working on a small budget, working with sound is going to be your strong suit. I decided to go onto audio.com and grabbed a bunch of sound effects, music, and also went to Story Blocks and snagged some shots from there and put those into the sort of the transformation scene. I feel like if you're working on a low budget, sound design is something that's really going to beef it up. And it doesn't have to be specific sounds. Like when the title pops up, it's a light flickering. We have the sound of the police coming in, and there's a lot of actual exposition and storytelling you can do through sound. So sometimes you don't even have to shoot stuff. I realized that if I added sounds of someone talking in the background, sirens, and even just like monster noises, it sells it so much that you don't need to shoot it. And I think if you're wanting to accelerate your budget, this is a good way to do it. Instead of trying to like recreate a scene from a cinematographer or trying to do what someone else has already done, like go make a movie. Make the story a super simple story and use the method that I use, which for this, it was my lock method, which is one character, one object, one location, one conflict. And if you want to explore that a little further and have like a blueprint. I actually have this in my course, 4-Week Filmmaker. All the tools that I did on my own here, I actually share with how you can do with a crew of 1 to 20, and learning my practice of how to make a movie. I try to simplify it in the simplest way possible on how to be able to do it in 4 weeks. You don't have to, but you can, and I think it's totally possible to start today and to be able to make a movie in the span of 1 month. I had a lot of fun making this project. Again, I think there's probably a lot of areas where it could improve, but my philosophy is creativity creates creativity, and the more you make, the better you get. So hopefully I get a little bit better from whatever we just did here. I'll see you guys in another video. Okay, so you're probably like, Zach, what did you learn from this shoot? Giving myself ample time and no pressure to finish up soon, not racing against the clock for daylight or anyone to arrive, allowed me to just experiment, which I think that's what short films should really be all about.